on the Ferb Guy, and welcome back to Movie Fridays, where if a film is so wretchedly horrible and so bad that viewer discretion is advised, because throughout this whole video, I may or may not curse because of how fucking terrible this movie is. I don't know which one's worse, Rise of the Machines, this film, or even freaking Salvation, which I reviewed last week. So, what is the storyline for this one? Well, let us take a look. So, in an alternate timeline, Kyle Reese winds up being a young child who's picked up by John Connor, ignoring the continuity from Salvation. And the next thing you know, it looks like they defeated the Resistance finally, but as they're about to send Kyle Reese back to 1984, and they spoiled this one in this one spoiled clip I'm going to talk about later. As they send John Connor, and as they send Kyle Reese into 1984, Matt Smith, that being one of the doctors of Doctor Who, comes in and it looks like he's about to slash him. Which obviously sends Kyle Reese into the past, where the Terminator is supposed to happen. And as it turns out, that somehow both Sarah Connor and Arnold Terminator are apparently both working together, and to make matters interesting, it turns out that the Arnold Terminator in this one raised Sarah Connor. But matters still get worse from here. Apparently, as they travel to just about the present time, 2017, which was like 2 years after the movie came out, they find themselves finding out that Genisys is Skynet, and it's coming close to when Genisys will be connected and the world will come to an end. Yeah. Also, if you want to talk about how bad this can get, well, it turns out John Connor has transported himself back in time. And as soon as they realize it, and as Arnold goes and shoots him, and it looks like he's dead, it turns out he's a Terminator now! Yeah! John Connor! A fucking Terminator now! I wouldn't be so surprised about this twist if they didn't put it in a second trailer of the film! Like, as I said in the last Movie Fridays video, when the trailers came out for both Salvation and Genisys, I mean, first time around when the trailer for Genisys came out, it worked well. It kept the spoilers to a minimum. But by the time they released the second trailer, that's when they fucking spoiled the whole damn movie. I hate it when they do this. This happens a lot in films. It happens a lot in trailers. I mean, what's wrong with creating a good teaser? What happened to those? I mean, practically, if you want a good one, look at Back to the Future. It has probably the best teaser out of all history of teaser trailers. But, also, it turns out that John Connor, yeah, because it's somehow following the continuity of the other films, despite the fact that, obviously, when they're alternating the timelines here, John Connor would practically not be born. He's one of the head honchos of the Genisys facility. And because he's now a Terminator caused by Matt Smith of Doctor Who, that's when things get real. Because he's been turned into a Terminator, who somehow hacking a human body and reprogramming them into a lobotomized Terminator to destroy all of humanity. You know, the stuff that any person could get behind. He reprograms the entirety of Genisys so that every nuke in the world will blow everyone up. This movie is ass! So now it's up to our heroes. Yes, like Kyle Reese, Sarah Connor, and Arnold Terminator to obviously prevent Genisys from ever being made. But not only that, but also somehow this detective played by J.K. Simmons, who appears in the film for like 5 scenes or whatever, his character is completely and utterly pointless. There is no factoid to how pointless a lot of these characters are. Like, you go back to when Kyle Reese is sent to 1984. It turns out there's a T-1000 there. And they bring in a pretty pointless actor to play the T-1000 because China. Yeah, there's no other reason. China. Like, how many scenes was that? That was like 2? 2 scenes dedicated to this one character? To make matters worse, and this is going a long way, make matters worse, there are a lot of civilians that just are stupid. They act so incompetent. Like, seriously, so freaking incompetent. There is so much shit going on in this movie, I can't even keep fucking track of how many stupid things there are. You've got this one point where they blow up their own facility because somehow Connor Terminator now has found out about their facilities as they blow up the place, and as a field trip apparently is going on there, and they hear and then an explosion happens, they're apparently not fazed by it. Not one bit. They're just standing around going like, wait, what the hell's going on? Is there a point that we're standing here or something? Did they forget to give directions to the extras that you gotta act scared? When you hear an explosion, run away. Head to your vehicles. Get away! I don't know what is worse. The fact that the Terminator timeline is now destroyed, or the fact that we now have ourselves probably the most shittiest Terminator movie in all of history. I mean, I thought Salvation was bad, but this here takes the cake. This is probably one of how not to do a Terminator movie. I mean, sure, in the end they prevent Skynet from happening. They prevent the apocalypse. Sure, but there is so much stupidity with this movie. This may be my top worst movie in history, and I'm gonna feel so sinful for saying this, but compared to this, this makes the Red Dawn remake look like a clever masterpiece. As you can tell, Terminator Genisys was dead on arrival. The machines never made it all the way through. The actors are just are forgettable. J.K. Simmons, what was the point of him being in this movie? And also, another beneficial factor, a lot of these characters are so stupid. I know I said that before, but it bears repeating. The action is lame, a lot of the characters' dialogue is just rehashes, and the fact that they actually alter the timelines of what the original Terminator movies are supposed to go with? I think the timeline would pretty much be blown to smithereens. Because if Reese did not, like, give birth to John Connor in 1984, pretty much he would not be in existence. Hell, even Connor Terminator would not exist if not, and I mean if not, if they altered the timeline and they didn't give birth to him, he would be completely demolished. By the time he would possibly arrive or whatever, or something like that, because he was supposed to be born in 1984, keep that in mind, he pretty much would not be here. And they ignored that. They ignored that piece of continuity. This movie, as I've said before, is worse. Worse than Red Dawn. If anything, avoid this movie at all costs. A zero, zippo, nothing. So, Terminator Genisys. You probably haven't seen it, and you probably won't. So I'm going to ask you the question. What do you think is the worst movie you've ever seen in your life? Whatever your thoughts are, comment below. Let me know. And I'll see you guys for the next movie, because it's going to take a lot of bleach to watch this movie out of my mind.